My name is Rasmus Andersen. I guess you know that by now. I'm responsible for Juniper's security in North, so that means Benelux and Scandinavia. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the data center and going beyond IP. So without further ado, I'm first going to just mention a little bit about security at Juniper. Some of you guys may already know Juniper and may also know our security, but just give me the benefit for just a few seconds. So, we have two customer segments that we're working with, service providers and enterprise segment. We have a couple of businesses that we're working with as well. We've got routing and switching, which a lot of people know, and then of course security as well. Security is very important to Juniper. It accounts for approximately 25% of the revenues that we're doing. So it's about $1 billion on an annualized basis that we're doing in security. And it's also very important to say that we want to pride ourselves and we want to see ourselves as innovators in the marketplace. So we are putting quite a bit of funding back into R&D. So 1/4 of our revenues is going back into R&D. We have been a pioneer in intrusion deception. I'm going to talk a little bit about intrusion deception at a later stage, so stay tuned. Also, we were the first to launch a purpose-built firewall for the virtual environment, or not firewall, next-gen firewall. I'm going to talk to you about next-gen firewalls in a second as well, what we believe it is and where we believe it fits well. We are the leader in SSL gateways. You may know our Junos Pulse client. You may have been using it already. I use it myself. I find it very, very useful, and I'll be talking to that as well. So when we look at an enterprise, there are a lot of different needs and an ecosystem that we want to support. At Juniper Security, we believe that we have solutions in play for a number of these different scenarios or use cases, whatever you want to call it. So today you're looking at a use case for mobile. We're talking about bring your own device. We're talking about getting access from any place to anything in a secure manner. We can of course do that. Again, we're talking about next-gen firewall in the virtualized environment. We can also do that. But more importantly, today I'm going to talk about campus and branch, how we get access in campus and branch, and how we do that securely. But more, and last but not least, the data center, which I believe is where we differentiate as we speak today. So, not a presentation from a vendor without a billion different stats, and I have some stats here as well. So, for mobility and bring your own device, I don't know if you can see it here. It's a little bit grayed out, but 53% of enterprise apps are already web apps, so meaning applications that they are utilizing through a browser. 22% of these are ready for the mobile world. I'm pretty sure here in Finland it may be even higher than it is everywhere else. But having said that, 90% of all the enterprises are looking for mobilizing whatever apps they have today. So the future demands a few things of us. It demands that we are going to HTML5 because we want to be using these mobile platforms going forward. The fact that we are going to mobility also means that we have to treat intranet slightly different than what we're doing it today. So we have to treat it more like internet-based communication. So security becomes even important when we're sitting on the LAN using our mobile devices. So I know that Verizon, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, they sent out something about employee-owned devices getting access to the network. So there's some interesting reading there as well if you want to look into it. When we mention all these stats, what is important as well is that 80% of all the investment going in for DC security will be to look at security-related issues for web applications. So that's what we see happening within the next 5 years term. We did a study half a year ago with Ponemon Institute, I think it was, where we went out and asked about 5,000 IT executives about their main pain points they were seeing right now and how to address these. So, first of all, a lot of these companies were already hacked or had been hacked. So, to me, it's quite obvious if a hacker wants to get at you, they will get at you. So, at any given point, it's not a question of if you will be hacked, it's a question of when. And this is not to stick to anybody here and say, well, it's very dangerous and everything. It's just a fact that people are out there, people want to get to you, and that's the way it is. A lot of these attacks were targeting the data center, so that's why I'm talking about data centers today. Of course, there are also attacks into the branch and campus environment, and we're going to talk to that slightly as well. When we asked these questions, we also tried to figure out if the current environment that customers had could support them towards these threats coming at them. And 60% said that the current next generation firewall and the IP reputation that they were utilizing was not enough to address some of the problems. And I'll talk to which problems we're talking about. So, for the last, I guess, couple of years we've been talking about, and it's not only Juniper as a vendor, it's basically all the antivirus vendors and firewall vendors that you find out there. The signature was not enough. You needed something else. You needed IP reputation. You may need heuristics, or at least you need something else besides signatures to make sure that you are supported against the attacks coming at you. We had zero-day attacks coming all the time, and therefore you need something else. DDoS attacks have been increasing over the last few years. You're now seeing about 2-3 weeks ago that Akamai bought one of the big DDoS companies. So it means there's serious interest in this, and from a revenue perspective, we're seeing something like 30% increase year-over-year in DDoS protection. Not only is it increasing, it is also changing slightly, so I will talk to that in a second. The current web application firewalls, they are not exactly addressing the problem as we're seeing it. Standard web application firewalls have been signature-based, so known application, known vulnerability, yes, I'll fix. If it's a custom application and maybe a new vulnerability, I have a problem. So therefore, we need something else to address these issues. The intelligence sharing, you can look at that from a different, from different perspectives. So the sharing between companies has been bad. The sharing between the people who are developing the applications, the people who are testing the applications, have potentially also been bad. And also between the individual products, we have seen little to no intelligence sharing. I know it's become better. Most of the vendors are looking into it today. We are looking at different CM products where you can correlate data and so on and so forth. So everybody is working in the direction to gain higher visibility, to be capable of sharing intelligence between their products and therefore enhancing the security. So, a few things about the Finnish security market or impact. So I know this is not brand new. It's about a year old that one of the media houses got DDoSed. You also saw Anonymous coming at some of the locations here. We saw that in Denmark as well, heavily. We saw it in Sweden as well, heavily. So you can argue this was the hacktivism coming at us from a DDoS perspective. What we also have seen is, especially within DDoS, something very odd, that it is so easy to do a DDoS attack today. You have people, we have quite a few customers within the gaming industry, so you have people who have lost the game of World of Warcraft. I'll take down the server. That's what you do, apparently, when you lose a game of World of Warcraft or something like that. You just take them down. And that causes massive disruption in networks. If we look at Finland here, this is from CERT in Finland. You have exactly similar numbers for Sweden and for Denmark. It is not unique at all, but you're seeing quite a big increase in DDoS attacks. And again, these are only the ones being reported into CERT. There will be tons of other DDoS attacks. Smaller, bigger, whatever they may be. This is from yesterday, just to talk about the fact that web application has to be developed quite fast today. I know everybody is trying to develop web application in a secure manner. They are trying to take the principles in, so you develop a secure application from first get-go. The problem is you need to come to the market fast. You need to come out with new applications on your website to make people feel that you are doing a good job. And when you do that, you make errors. That's just the way it is. So these guys with Davos, where all our leaders are going to go to Davos and talk about all our economic situation, that website is poorly constructed, so it can be utilized to spreading malware and so on and so forth. Having said that, this is a high-profile website. If you look at the website of Obama, the healthcare.gov, that's a high-profile website as well. It had numerous flaws in it. They had lots of money to build this website. Still, this happened because they had to do it reasonably fast. And that's the way the world we're living in today. We have to come out fast, and therefore we make mistakes. Okay? So, looking at Juniper, some of the things that we are solving and where we believe we are a little bit more innovative on some of the items, others we may not be. But the problems, we could address them from two different use cases here. You got the data center in the top, and you got the campus and branch. And I will start out about talking about the campus and branch and move on from there. So, a couple of years back, a new phenomenon came out called Next-Gen Firewall. Everybody was talking about, everybody has been talking about Next-Gen Firewall for a long time. A Next-Gen Firewall is basically a standard 5-tuple firewall, as you see in the middle, where you put some additional things on. So one being IPS, intrusion prevention services. We have it, Cisco has it, Check Point has it, Palo Alto has it, right? The next thing is then you want to put something called AVC, or Application Visibility and Control, onto that firewall. This is also interesting in the sense that you want to make sure you protect your users. You want to be able to do a couple of things with this. You want to make sure what kind of applications are your users using on the internet. Can I use Skype? Can I not use Skype? Can I use Facebook? What part of Facebook can I use? Is this application secure or not secure? You can do that in your firewall today. We have it again. Palo Alto has it, Check Point, and Cisco has it. So everybody has it. Then on top of that, you had another thing that you want to put on before you call it a next-gen firewall, and that is some intelligence. That intelligence is interaction or figuring out with some kind of IDP. So normally saying that would be Active Directory. So me, Rasmus, I'm allowed to use the internet, but I'm not allowed to use Skype. Or if me, Rasmus, goes out and downloads some malicious stuff on the internet, at least I have a profile of it in my firewall to make sure that somebody can go mitigate that issue at some point. So this is basically what we are looking at from a next-gen firewall perspective. This is not unique. This is something all of us have. You can then argue some may be better than others, but it is not unique any longer. So having said that, next-gen firewall is something for the branch. It is not necessarily for the data center. It's a whole different thing we're looking at in the data center than it is for the branch offices. Up here in the data center, we have a number of applications that somebody from the internet want to go and do something with. So if we look at it from a bank's perspective, of course they've got applications in there handling our credit card information. They've got applications to do some kind of self-service. They've got the banking applications, right? If it's a travel agency, they've got applications so you can search for travels. If we're looking at it from an Internet of Things perspective, you've got applications as well. Now, I'm a little bit of a geek. And I'm getting into this world of measuring yourself. So I bought one of these small thingies called a Nike Fuel Band, right? Some of you may know these or may know the Jawbone or something like that, but it's basically a question of measuring what are you doing during a day. How are you sleeping? How are you walking? How much have you been walking about and stuff like that? So there's applications for that as well. And this one, with my mobile phone, talks to an application on the internet. So of course, it is a little bit of a different perspective. There is no users in the data center, but there's a hell of a lot of data in there. On top of that, of course, it's important from a firewall perspective. That is a firewall that is fast, low latency, and can handle whatever things we throw at it. Good. When we look at the data center, some of the threats we're looking at here is DDoS, like I mentioned before. DDoS has evolved. So being able to create a DDoS attack while you throw 10 gigs of data towards a data center, or perhaps thinking about 100 gigs of data, whatever, like Spanhouse that was 300 gigs of data. That is something a lot of people can do, and there is companies who are very good in mitigating stuff like that. It's easy to detect because when your pipe is full, something is happening, right? There is people who can detect that. That could be Arbor, for instance. They are quite good at that. Prolexic as well, like I mentioned before. It has evolved to AppDOS as well. So this is not a question of the DDoS is trying to throw a hell of a lot of data at you. It is basically trying to break one of your few applications you have into your data center. So this could be a query string just trying to make a very difficult query into an e-commerce site, saying, well, you know, I know you have a database in your system looking up all the postal codes. So if I now create something that will continue to ask for that postal code, it will overload the database, which means it will break your site. If it breaks your site, you cannot take orders from other customers. That's kind of an issue. So that's one way of doing DDoS attack. The example up here with Bank of West is a public example. It's a year ago as well. So basically what happened was over Christmas that the Bank of West, they had a DDoS attack, but it was not a DDoS attack in the traditional sense. It was a diversionary DDoS attack. So what happened was they made the DDoS attack, made the IT staff busy looking at the DDoS attack, and whilst doing that, circumvented other security measures and pulled out money. So they basically pulled out about $900K by doing that. The beauty of this is that they had made it a diversionary attack, so the bank didn't realize until it was too late. It took 2 or 3 months before they actually realized they had money being stolen from all of the accounts. And then it was kind of tricky to do looking back and finding those money. So just one example of diversionary attacks that you will see quite a lot. You may also have heard about NTP attacks that's happening at the moment, or even if you're in telco business, you'll see mobile devices being used to DDoS the infrastructure. Okay. So this is one thing. We have our DDoS Secure at Juniper that can help you with these diversionary attacks and also with the AppDoS. And the reason for us being capable of doing that is we are measuring not only the traffic going in, but also how the resource behind it is responding. So if we're saying traffic going into an application like this database before, and we can see the database is dying, then we stop the requests going to that database. It's all about making sure that we can handle as many customers at any time, or serve as many users to that website, probably the right way of saying it. So the next thing we're looking at is web applications. So you could think about our JWAS, Juniper Web App Secure, in the same manner as you want to protect your house. So when you have your house and you want to protect your house from a burglar, you put up an alarm. Why do you do that? Because then the burglar knows there's something there, maybe I need to go somewhere else. Or you put out bars in front of the windows, so they need to go somewhere else. You do things that makes it a little bit tricky for this person, which then again means that the person, the burglar, will go next door, right? It's a little bit similar things that we're doing here. So we are deceiving the burglar, we're deceiving the intruder, the hacker coming at us. So the way we're doing it is, you have a request coming into your website. When you do that, it thinks about get some kind of response back, right? So let's say I'm requesting to get to a form where I have to fill in my name. And when you do that, you get a response back with the form fields, and you can go into the form field and fill that in, right? What we do is we deceive the hacker by putting in small tar traps. So that is basically, I think F-Secure have done that for some years as well in antivirus, where they have gone in and lured hackers to their honeypot, and then they have done a sandboxing test or whatever it is. We are doing this real time, where we are saying to the hacker, if you get here, you can then change small fields. And if you change these small fields, maybe you can get in. The hacker will think, great, I'll do like this. And he tries to change the fields. When he does that, then we know that is someone malicious, right? So if you have a URL saying blah, blah, blah equals false, if the hackers go in and writes blah, blah, blah equals true, I wouldn't do that because I don't know how to hack. You probably wouldn't do that because you don't know how to hack. He knows to hack, so this is why he does it. When he does that, we know he has a bad intent, right? If he tries to search for passwords to the back-end server, we know he might have bad intent. If he actually tries, then we will serve him with passwords in an encrypted manner. If he hacks it and tries to respond back with that, we know he has bad intent. So now we know who you are. In the case of Brown Printing is a publishing company. They're doing the swimsuits, the Sports Illustrated swimsuits. And they installed our product, and within 1 month, they saw 210 incidents. So that was incidents of users trying to attack their website. This website was basically used to of course, show swimsuits illustrated, etc., but also used in a manner, some of the application was used in a manner where some of their journalists, etc., could upload things. So you had 5 real-time attacks on where journalists could upload things. And that's within 1 month. So make sure any of your websites are probably also being attacked in some way or form today, by automated machines, and if they are, and we see it with our product, we deceive that automated machine, it will go elsewhere. So, now that we have figured out who you are, now we know for certain that you are trying to do something bad with our system. We now need to figure out and be able to pinpoint you, and that's what we're saying. We have to go beyond IP. Because the issue is, if we're using an IP database in this scenario, that you can have us block for an IP where you have millions of users behind. Now, I work for Juniper, and Juniper, we are using a number of different proxies, etc., to get onto the internet in a secure manner. We could even be using a next-gen firewall for that matter, if that was the case for our campus and branch. And that means I'm presenting on the internet with one IP. My colleague sitting in Sweden is basically presented to the internet with the same IP. So if I'm a hacker trying to hack a website, and I am then looked upon with certainty that I'm trying to hack this website, and we now try to block for me, then I'm also blocking for my colleague and 10,000 others getting into that website. That's a problem, because then I've lost 9,999 customers. So I need to figure out a way to go beyond the IP. I'm not saying that we should forget about IP, I'm just saying we need to go beyond. So what we do is, when we have identified you with certainty, then we go in and make sure we know you and we know your device. So now we take a fingerprint of the device. So you've done something bad, we take a fingerprint of your device and say, this device behind that IP with these 200 different attributes is a bad guy. Okay? And these 200 attributes can be font, it can be browser type, it can be IP, it can be web, not web browsers. Do you have Java? Do you not have Java? Which kind of versions do you have? And blah, blah, blah. It's 200 different attributes that we're looking at. That's the way we get certainty. So now you're marked up as a hacker, right? The next thing we do is we have a global database we call Spotlight. And when you have been marked up with certainty, and we know for sure who you are with the fingerprint, we put you into a Spotlight database. So today we have about 7 million incidents which are logged in the database, and about 10,000 specific hackers who have done serial hacks. So not just tried once, but tried a number of times. This is good, because now we can use this information even further and start sharing the information between our devices. Not only between in the individual data centers, but also between our customers. So let's say customer A in Kuala Lumpur figures out a hacker. That hacker can be blocked by our SRX firewall in Houston within 45 seconds. So that's the sharing that we get to as well. Having said that, the next thing we can now do is also start sharing this Spotlight database further out with SRX firewalls in other branches. It's not something we can do yet, but it's something that we will be doing in a short time frame. So that means now we go beyond the IP, we stop the hacker. We are not necessarily going towards the malware here, we are going towards the hacker. We are blocking him from his intent. So basically, what we do is we're changing the economics of the hacker. So when you look at a hacker, they have automated tools. Automated tools are pretty easy to detect. But when they go to the next step and they start using more human-like behavior trying to hack that way, we start to be able to find them and follow them. And if we can do that, we can make it more difficult for them to get in, and that's the way we change the economic. If it takes you 5 minutes to break into a car, or 25 minutes to break into a car, you will take the car in 5 minutes if you're a burglar. The reason for that is then you have 5 other cars you can break into. It's a lot easier. And unfortunately, we don't have world domination, so there will be a lot of customers out there that's not our customers, and therefore can be broken into. It's also important that security is an ecosystem. It's not really so you have one box solves the world. You may have a number of boxes, you may have a number of vendors who are capable of helping in securing the world. And that's how we see it. We see it as an ecosystem. We are one part of the ecosystem. There are others out there as well. Bad actors, they are pretty smart. They are well funded. You have seen NSA. I've seen it a couple of times here. Yeah. You have seen other groups of criminals. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of resources. And they will be coming at us. It is our job to try to stay a little bit ahead of them. We believe this deception technology is one way of doing it, and it's a strong way of doing it. And last but not least, there is nothing that's really easy access. All of us as vendors are saying, well, we can give you easy access to this, that, and the other. That's what we're trying to do. We're not there. Nobody is there. That's the way it is. Thanks.